Hey everybody, welcome back to the MarketingBox podcast. Today we have a very special episode and it's quite different than what we normally do here. We have Trey Paine, our CMO, Mike Paine's son with us. He is the marketing producer for PEMCo's at Notre Dame, but I'll go ahead and let Trey introduce himself to you guys and tell you guys a little bit about him.
Hey, so I'm Trey Paine. I'm currently a sophomore at the University of Notre Dame studying pre-med and television. I am the marketing producer for PEMCo, which is the only student-run musical theater organization on campus.
Oh, nice. And so you're a sophomore, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you got 2 more years left and then you're going to go to med school or you don't know yet or?
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Okay, that's very cool though. So this is like the theater program that you're in. Everybody just has a passion for it, or is this like?
Yeah, so we are mostly comprised of non-theater majors because all the theater majors do their own shows. They do it with the department called the FTT department, which is film, television, and theater. And so they get all the funding from the school, all the big money. We don't get any of that. Everything, all the money that we use is completely through donations or profit from our shows.
Oh, wow. Wow. And so what does like a typical, I imagine you guys have to practice a lot, but on your own time, because this is not your major, and I'm sure some other people have jobs too. So what does that look like? How much do y'all have to put into this?
We put in a lot. It's probably about 20 hours a week, I think.
Wow.
4 hours, 5 days a week.
Wow. And you directed a play, correct?
Yes, I directed a musical last semester, actually.
Tell us a little bit about that. How was that getting able to take the reins on something? That seems like a huge project.
It was huge. I spent a lot of time outside of those 20 hours, deciding what I wanted to do, working on, how's this scene going to look? How do I want this scene to sound? How do I want these people to act? And it took a very big toll on me the first semester, but it was great. I loved doing it, even though, it took a lot of my time.
Yeah. So do you feel like because of that experience you grew? Like, are you able to be a better leader now, or did it make you better in other aspects of the theater part?
I definitely was able to understand a lot more than I hadn't before.
Okay.
Because was a musical. I didn't know anything about vocals, music at all, and I had to, pick up the reins on that. I had to learn some of that as well. So I might be able to tell you what certain notes are.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't, though. But also just, it taught me a lot about community because for that certain show, it's a very, a lot of heavy topics were put in the show. And so we had to bond together as a cast, a crew, to make sure that we were telling the story correctly.
And has theater always been a passion of yours? Like, was this something that you did in high school or?
I've been involved with theater production since 4th grade, I think.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, at my high school, our theater program was really good, and I went to go watch the plays, but I never took, because I think it was an elective class option to take theater, and you got graded on I guess, I don't know if you just try out for certain roles in the play, or I don't really know how that worked because I never did it, but it's really cool to watch.
Yeah, theater isn't an elective here. Actually, it's the major. You can do a theater major at Notre Dame. It's intense. There's a lot of, there's one class that's called performance techniques, and you will get graded on just how you perform. So I have some friends who are involved with that, and they say that the teacher is very passionate about it, but he's very hard as well.
Wow. So those kind of kids, they want to go big on Broadway or what? What is that kind of dream? If they picked a theater major, is it that they want to pursue a career in that?
Yeah. They would want to either be they want to write musicals or plays. They want to be on Broadway. They want to be on the Hollywood silver screen. It's, a very big passion of theirs.
So some of the students you work with might end up being famous one day.
Yeah. That, it could be. I think someone who was a television major is now a producer on SNL or something. I could be lying.
Oh my gosh.
Could be lying.
I need to fact check myself a lot.
Well, I imagine I was broadcast. And when you were directing, did you have to come up with vision storyboards of how you wanted things to look? I don't really know how that translates to the media out. I don't really know, but what did that look like for you?
So I had the script for the musical, and I had to write down blocking pages. So I would take the stage that I knew I had, and I would say, okay, this person would move here during this line, or they would sing this here, or this interaction would happen up here. And I do that for every scene in the show.
And was there a certain point where you had to, like, get yourself back in check? Like, did you ever think, like, oh, my gosh, I can't do this, and then you did it?
Oh, yeah, totally. Because I didn't have a choreographer for the show.
Oh, like the whole dancing aspect of it.
So I had to do all the I had to choreograph everything.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
Never choreographed anything before.
Yeah.
And I had someone like my mutual friends came up to me afterwards like, oh my God, who's the choreographer who like did all the dance numbers? I was like, I did. They're like, what?
Oh my gosh. I didn't know. Okay, I don't know like what all goes into directing. Obviously, directing the play itself, but are you in charge of like lighting, everything? Like
pretty much, yeah. Everything comes to me. Everybody who's doing anything.
All the casting, he has to select, like he has auditions, he has to select all the cast members. So even like friends that are coming up to him that are, auditioning and all that, he has to really, it's like you almost have to separate yourself from being a friend to really try to cast the role that you think is going to work the best. So it's very stressful. One of the things too about PEMCo that really surprised me when we were first looking at it was that there's no like adults, no faculty. It's 100%, like all of the funding, everything that they get, all the money they have, the costumes that they pick, the choreograph, selling the tickets, reserving the place, everything from, the first, vocal to the very end, clean up and everything is all 100% student run. It's insane.
So your job as marketing producer, like what is your goal? Because we're talking about how it's student run. Mm-hmm. I imagine that as someone with the marketing, it's your job to get the reach out and all of that. So let's talk about that. Like what's some of your plans?
So we currently have like a TikTok account. There's nothing posted on it. I think there's only like 20 followers, and there's some of the people in the club. I'm really trying to grow our presence on social media.
Okay.
Because I think TikTok has some of the best outreach and algorithm possible for us to do that, and that's just, I'm upset that we're not using that form of communication to widen our community. That's a great way to reach people outside of South Bend and Notre Dame. So I want to take control of the TikTok. I want to have almost everyone in the club have access to it, so we can all just post funny things, advertising for our shows.
And aside from social media, are there any other things you're going to be doing, like word of mouth? Like, are you putting up posters on campus? Like, how else are you going to?
So as marketing producer, I design the posters. I design the T-shirts we wear, and I control the website. I haven't gotten control of the website yet, but when I do, I'm going to fix it up, make it look better.
That's really cool, and I feel like this will look great on your resume because you're just getting so many skills, and you're kind of just figuring it out on yourself. Like, you don't have anybody teaching you step by step how to really, you have your dad that you can rely on for advice, but I think this is great as a college student getting this kind of experience before you go apply for jobs. Whatever you end up doing, this is just, you're designing, you're involved in your community, you're really learning how a business owner would kind of do this themselves.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. I'm very thankful for the producers this year picking me to do this. It's insane. I do have the marketing producer from this year who's going to try and pass the torch off a little bit, and she's going to like, oh, this is what I did. Here's access to all this stuff. If you need any help, let me know. But it's really just mostly like hands-on, like what I think I can do, what I want to do.
How did that conversation go between you guys when you first told your dad that you were going to be the marketing producer?
So I got the email, and I sent a picture of it. I screenshot it, and I sent it to the family group chat. I said, guess what? And I think he just liked the message. I think that's all it was.
I think I said, oh, look, he's taking after his old man. But no, I was really excited for him because I think it's something that, again, this is something, as a dad, you always want to have those little connections that you can bond with. And this is something that even going through it, I can talk to him about. And it's different when you're watching, like, say you're watching football versus y'all are playing football. And that's kind of what it is. I could tell him everything that I do all the time, but now that he's actually has to put it in play and actually see, cause and effect and the whole strategy behind what goes on, he'll understand a little bit more about what I do. But I think it'll help him in the long run too, because we always talk about this. Marketing is life. Like the way that you present yourself, everything that you do, that you're branding yourself. And he's got to now create a brand for PEMCo and try to establish some things. We even on the way over here, I was like, hey, I looked at the website and there's some things we can fix. He goes, well, I don't have access to it yet. So those are the kind of things that we've talked about that, I'm glad it'll give us a little bit more to kind of dig into. So I'm excited about it. I'm probably more excited than he is.
Yeah, one of the first things he said was when we be on the podcast.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here today. Yeah. And don't worry, I'll cut this up, post it to our TikTok, and tag y'all's TikTok.
Maybe I don't have access to it yet, so
well,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after we're done with the podcast. But I think it'll be really cool. I'm excited to see the outcome. So Mike talks a lot about Notre Dame. He's very proud of you, and I've learned a lot about Notre Dame just from what he's told me and from what y'all have done together there. But I want you to talk more about the community there, the culture there, because someone who went to LSU, like LSU, my outlook on college is probably a lot different than Notre Dame's, but I've heard it's like you guys are a close-knit community. I know like you have to live in the dorms until you're about to be a senior, right?
Yeah. So the dorm community is very unique at Notre Dame. We are in gendered dorms, so boys and girls dorms, and our dorms are kind of like frats and sororities, like without having to like apply or go through all of like the bid.
There's no rush,
no rushing, and so each dorm has like their own community, and all the communities like they have their own like different shticks, they have their own different things they do. Like my dorm, we do something called ND 110, which is a like a charity service for the first responders of 9/11. Oh, wow. And so we set up this whole event where people pay like $5, I think, to run up and down the stadium of Notre Dame Stadium and do 110 flights of stairs.
Wow. Okay. Cool. And do you know your roommate before you get there? Or?
No. Freshman year, you don't get to pick your roommate. It's random roommate assignments. Most of the time, everyone's like, "Oh my God, I love my freshman year roommate. We're still great. We're still best friends." And there's a lot of horror stories too. It's just luck of the draw.
Yeah. Another thing too is that like with the dorm situation, they don't separate the athletes. Everybody thinks when they think of Notre Dame, the first thing they think of is Rudy. So Notre Dame football is a big deal, but like the athletes are all merged in with everybody else. Logan Diggs is actually in Trey's dorm. So, I don't think he sees him all the time.
Yeah, he's a room, but I don't see him at all.
But, that's a New Orleans kid that went to Rumble. That's one of the starting running backs. He's a phenom, but he's a sophomore at Notre Dame, and they don't separate him. They all kind of do that. I think last year one of his roommates was a varsity swimmer. And he got up at 5 in the morning. I think that's what
schedules are different.
Yep. Yeah. I'm not going to bed till 5, and he's waking up at 5. He'd be like, "Oh, hey."
Yeah, at LSU, the athletes are definitely in their own. Not that it's there's pros and cons to everything, but they are completely separated. So, I didn't really know a lot about Greek life just because I wasn't in a sorority. All I knew was cheer, and so the cheerleaders hung around the athletes, and until my roommate I moved in with, she was to try it out. I learned so much more about Greek life, and it's like you kind of are a little bit separated. Not only is your schedule a lot different, and you're always on campus versus somebody who's not involved in sport is not really on campus as much as you. But yeah, that's really interesting that everybody's just so immersed into that culture. And I imagine, after you graduate, you still keep a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. One of the first questions people asked was I went to Notre Dame. They go, "What dorm were you in?"
Oh, really?
Just recently, I went to my cousin's wedding, and one of one of my cousin's now wife's good friends went to Notre Dame, and she came up to me. She was talking about, "What dorm are you in?" It was the first thing we exchanged.
That's so funny. Actually, I follow an influencer who is a senior at Notre Dame. I can't think of her name right
now. Is it Anna Wolferman?
Yes.
Yeah, she's famous.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
Okay, so she's one of the only people I've seen that go to Notre Dame besides you, and Mike talks about you all the time. So I've kind of seen a little bit from what she posts how it is, and it really just seems like it's a closer knit community. LSU has so many students as well, but it's just totally different. Totally different.
Yeah, it's a very close knit community, and I love it there. I feel like almost everyone knows everybody. Oh, just in the grades, because people talking about people posting stuff on Instagram. Like, how do you know these people? They're in our grade. I'm like, how is that a qualifier for knowing these people?
Wow, that's crazy. Everybody just knows each other from the
Well,
class.
it is a private university. It's
Yeah.
it's a Catholic university. They really are like the presence of God, and this is like, which is for other colleges, this is like a no, but for Notre Dame, this is what they embrace it. This is what they do. Every dorm has its own church in it.
Own chapel, yeah.
Yeah, its own chapel, and there's chapels throughout everywhere. Like if at any point, and that's what when we were walking through there, they're like, at any point you feel like you need to pray, you're not but 5 yards away from
There's
a
some,
chapel.
like, random classroom buildings that just have churches in them. I'm like, why is there a church here? There's no reason for a chapel to be in this.
Go pray before your exam.
You need it. I need it. Yeah.
Why am I okay? I've never been on Notre Dame's campus, but why am I picturing it looking like kind of like a Hogwarts?
It
Like,
feels like it
I kind
sometimes.
of feel like that's what it would look like.
I mean, it is a little bit like that, but I mean, it is breathtaking. It's a beautiful campus. I mean, I think that's part of it. Like Trey fell in love with Notre Dame, and that was like our thing when we were like, all right, we got to figure out how to get him accepted into it. I mean, obviously he had really good resume going into Notre Dame. Super proud dad, but still that's not enough. He's surrounded by really smart kids that all are dedicated and motivated. So it's and I think that's what makes Notre Dame it's different. It's just a different school. That community is different like that.
I was going to ask you, what was like your ultimate deciding factor on Notre Dame? What other schools were you looking at?
I was looking at Baylor and I think Alabama were the other two big ones. But I really want to go to Notre Dame because when I went there and visited, the community there was just so nice. Like, they were so welcoming to me and my mom when we toured. I remember our bus driver who was bringing us around campus when we didn't know where to go. He was like, "Oh, I know exactly where to bring you guys," like making all this small talk. And one time, me and my mom were lost on campus. We had a huge map out, like trying to figure out where to go. And this senior just comes up to us and is like, "Hey, are you guys lost? Do you need a place to go?" And she walked us where we needed to go. It was very sweet. And I was like,
so another thing, let's talk about the culture shock as far as coming from the deep south and having to deal with the snow.
"Oh my God, it is so cold up there." I don't know how I get through it. Some days when it snows, I just feel like I have to hole up in my room.
Yeah.
But then some days I have class. I have class in those days.
I'm sure some of your Notre Dame friends are going to watch this. If there's even a slight chance of snow in Louisiana, they will cancel class. If it's icy roads, they will cancel class. They don't cancel class even if it's like 12 inches. I don't know how much snow.
They canceled class once last year. But that was like the biggest snow we've gotten in like years. They have yet to cancel class, and I don't think they will this year.
Oh my God. I can't imagine. I definitely would just stay in my room.
A lot of layers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Did you have to buy like a whole new?
Yeah. I have this huge winter coat now that I just wear every day because I'm afraid it's going to snow no matter what the weather is, because the weather in South Bend's super bipolar. Like, it is, one day it'll be 80 degrees, the next day it'll be snowing. And there's no way to predict it. I check my weather app every morning just to be sure.
Yeah, this morning here in Louisiana weather's kind of similar, except like it was hot this past week and now it's...
But yes.
It doesn't snow.
But this is chilly for us.
Yeah, I walked out, I was a little chilly too.
Yeah,
I was wasn't expecting it.
This is a little chilly. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine that culture shock. And then I heard that somebody in your family was talking about having crawfish and made you miss home a little bit.
Oh, in the group text we're talking about.
Yeah.
Allison sent out a message saying, "Who wants crawfish?" to the family text.
And you said, "That's just mean."
I did. Yeah, that's just mean.
It was a little mean.
Do you ever miss like the food?
Oh yeah, totally. Some days they'll actually have like Cajun night in the dining halls. I'm like, this isn't what it is.
This is not real. That's how I am. I mean, my boyfriend's from Arkansas. That's still the South. And they had a crawfish boil. And I went and I just knew it just wasn't going to be, not that it tasted bad. It's just not like how crawfish is boiled in Louisiana. It was, I could just, I ate it, but I was like, "Connor, this is not how crawfish is supposed to be." I mean, he knows because his dad is from here. But anyways, yeah, I feel that. People say like, "Oh, it's like if you had a Cajun restaurant in New York, it's probably not going to taste, unless if the person is from here, it's not going to taste the same." Oh, wow.
Well, a lot of times, too, I think they have to adapt to that culture. Like,
Yeah.
if you had that true Cajun food in New York, probably people be like, shit, this is too hot. I can't, this has too many calories. This is, because it's butter and spices most of the time.
Or it's too good.
Yeah, it's too good. I'm gonna gain a couple pounds after I leave here. Oh my gosh. So we talked about, why you love Notre Dame, what the community and culture there is like, how you're now going to be the marketing producer. Does that last all like through an entire year or just one semester?
Yeah, it's basically an entire year. I'm going to be starting my job soon, actually. I've had a few interviews with some people about a small show we're doing because what I love that PEMCo does is they're making sure that next year when we have to do 2 big shows, we're not like doing it for the first time. So this semester, we actually have a very small show called a review where it's just like a bunch of people in PEMCo go up there and sing songs. And there's kind of like a theme to it, but it's like really no dialogue, no big stakes. It's just
Like
us
a talent,
having fun.
like a talent show kind
Pretty
of?
much like a showcase, like showing off our talent that we have.
Okay.
And so the producers now, before they leave, are like guiding us through this process with this small show. And so we're like picking up the reins, getting an idea like, oh, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is how I get the posters out. This is how I advertise on social media. This is how I reach out to people. And so I'm still going to be marketing producer until next year, up until that point when I have to maybe lead someone else through, or maybe I'll apply again.
Okay.
So I have another year.
And it's appointed, right? So, like, do people vote, or is there, like, just a certain little committee?
So PEMCo has 5 producers, and those producers will pick next year's producers.
Okay.
If those producers if they don't apply again.
So do you feel like being a director before you're the marketing producer kind of helped you because you've seen all parts of
definitely.
it? So that really worked out for you in your favor, and I feel like it's going to make you better equipped for this position.
Oh, totally, because like as the director, I was able to see everybody do their different jobs because everybody would come to me like asking how I like this or how this looked. Like the lighting guy would be like, what colors do you want? Or the marketing producer would be like, oh, what do you want the T-shirt to say? Or how does this picture look for the poster? Where do you want the photo shoot to be located? And actually, my mom and dad came in on the same day we were doing the photo shoot, and they saw the marketing producer then taking the photos during the photo shoot. And the photos came out amazing.
Yeah, they came out. I mean, the whole thing was really well done. Like, if you even looked at it, it looked super professional. It's to me, again, it's crazy that this is all student-run, student-organized. I mean, you can tell it's Notre Dame, so it's highly motivated students. But you also have to remember, theater is not their first deal. This is like their hobby. This is just something that's secondary to them that they enjoy doing. So this is not really what they're at Notre Dame to do. They just love it so much, and they found like a little niche that they're kind of doing it. So, and my next question is I know like tickets, because we've bought tickets to almost every show you've been into. They're not that expensive.
No, they're really cheap.
Right. So, but how do y'all make money? Like, I mean, I know there's costumes and all that kind of stuff. So where do you get funding to be able to do all of this kind of stuff?
So actually, here's some insider information. So my show, we sold out all 3 shows we did. With all the costs, all the expenses, PEMCo lost $200, which is actually some of the closest we've been to like breaking even. Because PEMCo over the years is like losing money. Like we still have a great well of money from like the past years, but like we're slowly losing this money, which is a problem that all the producers are trying to fix, which is why I'm going to try and make marketing a really big thing now. Because I think the more outreach I get, less likely we are to be losing all this money. Because rights to these shows are expensive. That's probably the most expensive part of all of this. Like you get to be able to perform these shows like over $1,000, like for the script, for all the music, just being able to put it on like legally costs $2,000 depending on the show. And then
have all the rights and all the rights to the music, the playwright rights. I mean, like if you're doing a play, you can't just say like especially if it's somebody else's play that's been written, you can't just say, oh, I want to do that play. You actually have to submit.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of times they actually have to approve that you can even do it.
Yeah.
And then you have to pay them a certain amount of money for copyrights just for using it.
PEMCo was going to do Mamma Mia this semester, but because there's like Mamma Mia on tour in Canada. We're not able to do it because it's too close to Indiana. I don't ask me. I'm not theatrics.
I think they'd know you do it better. That's why they got
Mamma
upset.
Mia is one of my favorite movies.
No, we were so excited because Mamma Mia went through the approval process of the producers. The producers approved of Mamma Mia, but then the big leagues did not approve of it. But also like with the cost of the rights, you gotta factor in the costumes, you gotta factor in like renting spaces, and just being able to like put on the show, like all the props, all the sets, everything costs money.
Yeah, and that the school doesn't pay for anything because this isn't school funded. This
Right.
anything like that. So, I mean, is there ways people can donate to PEMCo? I mean,
Yeah,
is that
yeah. So I think April 1st, I could also be lying about this. April 1st is ND Day, which is the only day where clubs can accept donations from anybody. And on ND Day, there's a website. I don't know the link to the website, but you can go and find PEMCo and donate money there. And I'm going to try, when I get access to the website, I'm going to try and put a Venmo on the website.
Yeah.
So that we can get donations any day.
Let's see. It is March 13th. Hopefully that date doesn't creep up on y'all. Or is this something that like y'all fundraise for an entire year or?
No, honestly, we don't do much, which is what I want to try and like fix.
so? Can people like? I mean, let's assume you get a Venmo set up or a way for people to would they be able to donate year round, or is April 1st? Is there a reason why only April 1st, or April 1st is just a big
That's just ND Day.
national day where they're promoting ND Day, so everybody goes to the website and looks at it.
That's just ND Day. ND Day is a day where every club can get a donation.
But you're competing against every club at that time.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, because they like rank like the clubs that get the most donations.
But if somebody's listening to this podcast and said, "Shit, I really like what they're doing. I love theater. This seems like a good, smart group of kids that could use a little bit of support," they could probably go. You're going to try to set up something that's going to allow them to do that right now.
Yes,
Okay,
that is something
I'll
I
help you
plan on
with that.
doing.
we'll help you with that.
Because I'm sure it's not illegal to put a Venmo on a website.
There's ways that they'll be able to do. Like
Yeah.
you'll be able to actually, if somebody wants to mail in donations, you can actually probably put that on the website today, or as soon as you have access to it, you can probably put that on the website, and people could just start mailing you checks as well. Would it be like do y'all have like a nonprofit number or anything like that on it? Because I know y'all don't make any money.
I do not know that information yet.
Okay, that'd be important to know, so they could use it as a tax write-off. Because
Yeah, I've seen a lot of creators on TikTok who it's kind of similar to what you guys do, where it's like there's no real money unless if you fundraise it. They'll have like the PO box in their bio, and people will just mail them stuff all the time. But we'll talk about that when
yeah, look, there's things that we could probably help you set up with to try to get this thing rolling.
Yeah, I'm sure PEMCo has a PO box because that's where like sometimes scripts will get sent.
Yeah, and they'll want you to be the marketing producer forever.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years in a row.
Well, Trey, is there anything that like we haven't asked you that you want to touch on today?
I'm trying to think. I don't necessarily know. I just, PEMCo's, I'm not busting my ass, but I love PEMCo. It's a club that I've been passionate about since I first joined Notre Dame. Such a welcoming community of great, talented, like amazing people who really want to continue this. And we're trying so hard, to fight us losing money. And we just really want, to get our names out there just to show, Notre Dame, South Bend, everyone, that a bunch of students can put on a bunch of shows.
Great shows, too.
They're
they're
phenomenal.
very good.
Not to toot my own horn.
No, look, I can toot it too because I've watched a lot of them. The talent is unbelievable. So it's been very entertaining since I've been watching what they're doing. So what does PEMCo stand for? It's an acronym for something.
So yeah, PEMCo stands for Pasquarella East musical company. Because Pasquarello East is the dorm where it all started.
Oh,
I think
interesting.
I also could be lying about this story, but I heard this story. The marketing producer told me this year told me this story because she said that she like met this guy at this bar a while ago, and this father, this old man, and he was like, and they're just talking about Notre Dame, and he's like, "Do you know about PEMCo?" And she's like, "I'm really involved with PEMCo. Like, what do you know about it?" He was like, "Well, I know like the story of how PEMCo started." And she's like, "Oh, please tell me. Please tell me, old man at a bar." And he basically said that PEMCo started because before like there was even like a theater major or like any because the theater major is new, like the television, all that stuff is like started in like 2004.
Oh, okay.
And PEMCo's been around longer than the actual theater major. And so these girls from this dorm really wanted to put on some shows because there's no way to do that at Notre Dame yet. And so they started their own club. It used to be only women at first when it first started. And the girl who was the head of it was so involved with this because like she was putting on one of their shows and she was like directing it. She was, I think, co-directing it with somebody. Like there's no producers or anything before all the structure was made. But one of the lead persons of it dropped out. And so she was the only person, like, leading everything. She was so involved with it that she ended up, like, flunking out of most of her classes. And even though she was the only thing keeping PEMCo afloat back then, she ended up getting, like, I think, expelled for, like, academic probation. But she ended up going back to school, I think at St. Mary's, which is the all-girls school right next to Notre Dame, and getting her degree. And now she's, like, a nurse or doctor or something. But that's the story of PEMCo from an old man at a bar.
Thank you, old man at a bar.
Thank you, whoever you are.
Well, guys, you heard it. I mean, these I hate to call y'all kids because I'm the same age, but I still feel like I'm a kid too. These kids, this is just truly a passion, and you guys aren't really getting anything out of it except for the experience. So I imagine you lead with your heart with all this. You put everything into it. So these donations really help.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And the only reason we put these shows on is so we can put more shows on.
Yeah.
Which is also like a reason why we're trying to expand our, not just our audience, but like our theater, because the theater that I directed my show in was rather small, and we're trying to see if we can get the big theater for both semesters.
So who was it that was at? Because we were at your show that you directed, and there was a lady that was in charge of all the theater stuff that was actually there for the play. And
she said it should have been on the big show. Yeah. That's the
that was a huge compliment.
The only two adults that PEMCo is ever in contact with are two lovely ladies named Paige and Kat, and they're the people who run Washington Hall, which is where we have all rehearsals and put on our shows.
Okay.
So those are the only two adults that we are in contact with because a club at Notre Dame needs to have an advisor. And I think Kat is our official advisor, even though we don't talk to her that much. But they're two wonderful women who I'm very thankful for having in PEMCo's life. They support PEMCo a lot. They even get the merch for PEMCo. They buy some of the merch because they've seen it grow over the years. They're some of the staple people involved with PEMCo. And Kat came up to me afterwards because Kat's worked on Broadway. She was electrocuted during one of the performances of Cats on Broadway backstage.
That's an interesting story.
So she's seen a lot of performances, a lot of shows, and usually doesn't say a lot of positive things about them. And so after she saw my show, and she doesn't usually see shows, we were worried that a riot was going to break out in one of the shows, so she came and sat in.
Yeah, the show Trey had directed was very controversial.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, riot.
Especially, for Notre Dame campus.
Okay.
And so she sat in, and afterwards she was like, I think this deserved to be on the big stage. Like, this deserved to have a bigger audience than what it got.
So I bet you that compliment.
Oh, yeah. I felt so good after that. I was like, I don't need to do this. I'm done.
Trey, do you want to, so he's going to study abroad in London.
I am.
This summer. So, that's a Notre Dame type affiliation where you're actually going to take class at a Notre Dame class. So tell us about, I mean, what you're thinking, what's going to happen with that. I don't know. I mean,
I really have no idea. There's only like a few classes you can take in London. I think going the theater route, because we're talking about theater this whole time, one of the classes is going to like West End Broadway productions in London and watching shows and then just writing about it, which I think is very awesome.
Are you? But that's not what you signed up for, is it?
Well,
I think you should.
I'm not signed up for any classes yet.
Okay.
I'm going to try to.
That's right. Well, I hadn't gotten a bill yet.
Yeah.
Your dad's very proud of you. We're so happy to have you on. We'll make sure to tag everything, and whenever you get figured out about the social media stuff,
One more thing. Looking at you, camera. PEMCo is putting on a production of the old, very famous musical Anything Goes, March 30th, 31st, and April 1st. I don't think I can do tickets in the bio, but if you are around the South Bend community and you want tickets, you can buy them when it's time.